Okay, here we go. So, vomits, farts, worms. These things are pretty gross. But the terms word vomit, brain fart, and earworms have different meanings entirely that are actually not gross. They are much less disgusting. Word vomit is less disgusting than the word it contains, vomit. If you don't know me, hello, I am Monica from #GoalsEnglish. I teach English fluency and the American accent. I also teach lessons like this one with advanced English vocabulary terms or slang phrases and idioms you won't find in your average textbook. So again, in this video, we're going to learn about word vomit, brain farts, and earworms, not to be confused with earwigs, which is something I will tell you when I tell you about the scariest and grossest moment in my life later in this lesson. So stay tuned for that story. So first up, we have our word vomit. And as always, if you're watching this live and you have a question, put it in the chat and I will do my best to answer it. So word vomit. Let me go back to my notes here. So we have a lot of slang words for vomit. It's pretty gross, actually, how many slang words we have for vomit. So I'm going to flip my board over here. Most of you probably know that vomit means throw up. The stress changes slightly depending on whether it's a verb or a noun. So I throw up, throw up. So the noun would be a little shorter, throw up. I throw up, throw up. So the slang words we have can be barf, spew, and puke, which are the ones that can be used as nouns and verbs, just like throw up. So barf, spew, and puke. We can also use the terms retch, hurl, and upchuck, but only as verbs, not as nouns. So these are all pretty gross ways, right? Disgusting ways to describe something that is quite gross. We also have more euphemistic ways to say this. So euphemistic meaning it's a way that is less direct, less harsh. In this case, less disgusting. So the euphemistic way to say throw up might be sick, right? I think I'm going to be sick. Or get sick. I think I'm going to get sick. Another one you might hear might be, I'm going to lose my lunch. Not as common, but you will hear that. And it doesn't have to be lunchtime. It can be anytime. So what is word vomit? Word vomit is the way we describe situations in which you find yourself talking and talking and talking, especially if you're saying personal things or things that aren't really appropriate for that situation. Maybe it's something you would say to your best friend, but not to your boss. So the reason the word vomit is used here is that it kind of implies that it's involuntary, meaning it's not in your control, right? When you vomit, it's not your choice. It's involuntary. Just like with word vomit, the idea is that you've lost control of your words and you're just saying things you shouldn't be saying. So for example, if someone is on a first date and they nervously talk and they say things that they really shouldn't say, we could call that word vomit. Right? So vomit, non-countable noun. So you wouldn't say a word vomit. It's just word vomit. In most cases, we're going to use this term to talk about it after the fact, right? Maybe with a trusted friend or something, or in your mind. But if you use the term in that moment that you are doing the word vomiting, if I were to make it a verb like that, right? It would just make things worse and it would be more word vomit. So if you're talking, and then you go, oh, that's some word vomit. That's even more word vomit. So you don't want to do that. So to use it in context, say you're talking to your best friend or a close family member, you might say something like, oh my gosh, that interview went terribly. I just kept talking and talking. I was just, total word vomit. So often we see it doesn't really nicely fit into a sentence. It might just be stated on its own, just word vomit. note that we wouldn't replace the word vomit with any of these synonyms. So we wouldn't say word spew or word puke or anything like that. We just say word vomit. If you've seen the movie Mean Girls, the main character in that movie uses this term, word vomit, and then she has actual vomit, meaning she thought she was going to have word vomit, but she actually throws up. Pretty gross. So our next term, brain fart. There's my other side of my board here. Brain fart. Farting. Everyone does it, but few admit to it, right? So some euphemistic ways to say fart. So again, like a kind of nicer, more socially appropriate way to say fart would be pass gas or break wind, which that's not very commonly used, but I one time had a 6-year-old tell me this with a big grin on his face. Teacher, I break wind, which English was not his first language, so we would use past tense, I broke wind. But it's not too common to use that, maybe the older generation. We also might hear the word toot. So it's not uncommon for parents and teachers to use the word toot, like the sound a horn makes, toot, to talk to small children about farts. So it might be like, did you toot? Little Johnny, you tooted, didn't you? So what's a brain fart, though? Because the brain is not the part of the body that makes a fart. So we use this term when we've completely forgotten what we are going to say or do. So a similar phrase you might hear is, I've lost my train of thought, right? I've lost my train of thought. I had a brain fart. So I think we've all had that experience. Maybe you walk into the kitchen, you think you know what you're going to get, and then suddenly you're standing there, brain fart. Why did I come into the kitchen? I forgot what I was going to do. It can also be used in times when you make a mistake doing a simple task. So for example, you're not paying attention, you take out your house key and you try to start your car. Oh, gosh. Hello, brain fart. Wake up, Monica. You can't start your car with your house key. So like word vomit, the words brain fart can stand on their own, just like, brain fart. But you can also say you had a brain fart. So another example might go something like this. So yesterday I had to run some errands and I had a total brain fart. I got all the way to the post office and realized I left my wallet at home. Okay, so that's brain fart. And our last one in this lesson is earworm. So we've got our ears, right? Body part, our ears, and we've got worms. So you might know about earthworms, or we just call them worms, are those little creatures with no legs that live in the mud. They live in the dirt. So the word worm also is not just for that little creature with no legs. It can also be used as a verb, meaning to crawl or wriggle, right? So worm around. The little kids were worming around in the mud. It can also be used to talk about a situation where you put yourself in where you're not wanted. So for example, John wormed his way into the party even though he wasn't invited. And for that, we kind of can use this as an insult too for someone that is like John worming his way into things, or someone that is not very brave. He's a worm, like scared, no spine, no back. He's just a worm. But what's an earworm? Okay. So an earworm can kind of make you think about all of the above. An earworm is a song that gets stuck in your head. That's it. It's a song that gets stuck in your head. So, for example, I finally got around to watching Hamilton, and there are so many earworms in that show. I had the songs playing over and over and over again in my mind after I watched it. So the term is often used to describe songs that are annoying. So if you have kids, you might know the baby shark, do 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 do, baby. That is definitely an earworm. So if I put that in your mind, if I gave you that earworm, I apologize. But it doesn't have to be an annoying song. Like I said, with the Hamilton songs, I love those songs. So it just implies that they're catchy and they tend to get stuck in your head. But there is sort of an implication that you don't want it in your head like that. Like it's just going over and over and over again. And maybe you want to get it out of your mind, but you can't. It's distracting. I was laying in bed hearing Hamilton songs. What an earworm. Like, get out of there. So at the beginning of this lesson, I said I would share a very gross story having to do with earwigs. So earwigs are different than earworms. I don't know if I've never tried this before, but aha, it does work. So this is an earwig. It is an insect with 6 legs and pinchers. Disgusting. So these are called earwigs because they are known to go into people's ears. So if you can guess where this story is going, I was sleeping on a sandy riverfront. So it's kind of like a beach, but it was in front of a river. And I was camping with some friends and we were sleeping without a tent. All of a sudden, I hear something crawling in my ear and I wake up and I am freaking out. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's going on. The house we were staying at was like a mile away. So I run up the hill to the car. I'm like trying to shake it out of my ear. Get out of my ear. I'm running. I throw myself so hard. I hit the car. I'm in the car. My friend drives me. I'm crying. I think I'm going to go to the hospital. I don't have insurance. It's America. What am I going to do? Okay. I'm making this very dramatic. It was dramatic for me, but there was a happy ending. It was fine. I was very lucky. I had a water syringe. So a syringe is like a needle, but a water syringe just like is a thing that squirts water. Squirt a little water in there. Boop, came right out. And then I saw it and screamed some more because I saw it was an earwig and I saw the little pinchers. Oh. So just to be clear, earwigs are not dangerous. They can't pinch you. They're very, very, very small. There's some myths, right? Urban myths that they lay eggs in your ears. That's not true. They're not dangerous. They just like to find someplace warm to go, and your ear is small and warm. So this is a very rare occurrence. So far, I'm the only person I've ever met that this has happened to. Lucky me. So if you know someone that has had an earwig, please send them to tell me their story because I want to feel like I'm not alone with this crazy, disgusting story. But yes, again, earwig, W-I-G, like a wig you wear on your head, very different than earworm, a catchy song that gets stuck in your head. Okay, so I'm finishing up this lesson now. If you're watching live and you have any questions, make sure to send them to me now. Or you can leave a comment after the fact. Let's see. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson on some gross vocabulary in English. If you have any questions, comments, like I said, if you have a story of someone that has gotten an earwig, or if you have an earworm you want to share, a catchy song, you can share that with us too. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already so you can get more lessons on American English pronunciation, advanced English vocabulary, fun phrases and idioms, and English fluency exercises. You can also follow me on Instagram, goals.english, for shorter, like mini, bite-sized lessons. That's all for that. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you on my next live stream.